Howdy y'all, and welcome back to Texas Marks the Spot, where the dust of history never quite settles and legends have a way of slipping through our fingers like desert sand. I'm Sharita, and today our adventures take us way out west. We're heading deep into the Guadalupe Mountains, a place of stark beauty, rugged terrain, and whispers of gold lost to time. Some say it's out there still, waiting for the right treasure hunter to stake their claim. Others believe it was never real to begin with. But one thing's for sure, where there's a story of riches, there's always a trail worth following. The story begins in the late 1800s, in the rugged wilderness of the Guadalupe Mountains, where gold fever ran hotter than a Texas summer. Ben Sublet was no stranger to hardship. He was just another struggling prospector, scraping by in the unforgiving landscape, until one day something changed. The man who never had 2 cents to rub together suddenly had pockets full of gold nuggets, more gold than anyone in those parts had ever seen. In these times, it wasn't strange for small nuggets and gold sand to be found in the streams of the mountains. The gold was real, but the mother lode remained a mystery. Old Ben, as some would call him, had done his fair share of treasure hunting. From Kentucky to Missouri, and even the Colorado Rockies, he searched for gold, but luck was always just out of reach. He landed in Monahans, Texas, with a tent, a wagon, and 2 mules. Ben took odd jobs to help provide for his wife and children, but drank so much, and sometimes even on the job, that he often wouldn't be rehired. When the time stretched too far between jobs, he would hitch his 2 mules to his wagon and trek to the Guadalupe Mountains, about 125 miles away from his home. He would be gone for days at a time, and the town folk thought he was crazy for it. After a particularly long trip, his wife was fed up and convinced him to move to Odessa for his children's sake. She wanted a better opportunity for their education. In a tragic streak of bad luck, Ben's wife died from tuberculosis shortly after their move to Odessa, leaving him as lone caretaker for 3 children. His eldest daughter stepped up and took over the maternal duties, and even helped with laundry to supplement their income. But Ben knew he had to make changes. Odessa was even farther from his beloved mountains, and so Ben knew he had to turn away from his dream and provide for his children. It wasn't long before the mountains started calling to Ben. One job brought him close to an old man from the Mescalero Apache tribe. The man told Ben he had been banished from the tribe, and after learning of Ben's plight and love of gold hunting in the mountains, he spilled his valuable secrets. To no one's surprise, it wasn't long before Ben made his trek for that range. Only this time, he was gone much longer, leaving his children to fend for themselves. When Ben sauntered into Molly Williams' saloon, the patrons rolled their eyes and turned their heads away, judging him for leaving his children for so long this time, with only rags for clothes, and his poor daughter working her fingers to the bone, scrubbing other people's laundry. The townsfolk made sure the kids didn't go hungry, but Ben should be ashamed. Instead, here Ben stood proudly at the counter, and when the barkeep finally took notice, he made his offer. "Boys," he said, "I have been poor, but I ain't poor no longer. I can buy out this town and have plenty left. Drink!" The barkeep hesitated, and the men in the bar began to laugh as Ben turned to walk out. He returned to his wagon with his mules and produced a small canvas bag. Walking back into the saloon, Ben pulled a buckskin pouch from his pocket and tossed it on the bar. There, for the whole saloon to see, were bright golden nuggets spilling out across the counter. The crowd went wild. "My friends, drink all you want. Drink all you can hold. I have at last found the richest gold mine in the world. I can build a palace of California marble and buy up the whole state of Texas as a backyard for my children to play in. Let's celebrate!" It wasn't long before Ben opened his canvas sack and showed that it too was full of gold. Gold so pure that a jeweler could have hammered it out right there. He spent it freely, buying drinks for the whole saloon, handing out gold like it grew on trees. When folks asked where he found it, he just grinned and said, "There's plenty more where that came from." But when pressed for details, he clammed up. After his lucky strike, some say he never worked again. He'd slip out in the dead of night, gone for days at a time, only to return with more gold. Others whispered that he had found an old Spanish mine, one that had been lost for centuries. Maybe even a mine belonging to the infamous conquistadors, who were known to hide their wealth in the mountains before vanishing without a trace. There were even rumors that it was a cave of gold that the local natives had recovered on their conquests, only to return it to the earth. Some folks tried to follow Ben. Every single one of them failed. One prospector swore he had tracked Sublet into the mountains, only to be turned around by something unnatural, strange lights flickering in the distance, whispers on the wind. Others say he laid false trails, leading would-be treasure hunters straight into the most treacherous parts of the range. Offers were made to buy the claim or to go into partnership. But Ben's thoughts were that he had no need for other people's money, as he could go anytime to his cave and return with a fortune. There were a handful of people that Ben supposedly shared his secret with at different times, and legend says those lucky few did come back with gold. But old Ben usually provided enough alcohol that they were never able to find the location again after their single visit. And his philosophy was, if anybody wants that mine, let him go out and hunt for it like I did. Ben's son even remembers going with his father, but was very young, and the only memory he has was being lowered to the bottom of a canyon with a rope. In 1892, Ben passed away as a fairly rich man. He didn't leave behind too much of his fortune, but he did leave a legend of gold, and a waybill that his son ended up sharing as a clue to any future fortune seekers. In the southern end of the Guadalupes, on the east side, is a canyon-like chasm, sheer on both sides, accessible only by a rope. It varies in width from 50 to 100 feet and is perhaps 75 feet deep. In the wall, near the floor of the canyon, is a shaft like a cave. In the cave is more gold than you could believe. Over the years, treasure hunters, historians, and thrill seekers have scoured the Guadalupe Mountains, hoping to strike it rich. Some claim to have found traces, an old pickaxe here, a half-buried entrance there. But the mother lode, still hidden, still waiting. Maybe it's nothing more than a story. Maybe the gold was just a lucky find. Or maybe, just maybe, there are things in the Guadalupe Mountains that don't want to be found. Perhaps one day someone will finally uncover the truth, but until then, the mountains keep their silence, and the legend of the lost gold remains just that, a legend. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment. It helps us keep the legends alive and the stories coming. And for anyone curious enough to search, remember that treasure is found in the unlikeliest of places. But one thing's for certain, Texas marks the spot.